What is the difference between a manager and leader? And more particularly, which one are you? It's a question that frequently comes up, and it actually gets to the source of much of the confusion around leadership. Unfortunately, the question comes with a lot of emotion because the implication is that being a leader is better than being a manager. And given the history, that's actually not surprising. Up until the 1970s, the term leader was very seldom used in business. The common term for business leadership was management. And this was a time when the US was the dominant economic power, and US businesses had a very dominant position. Pretty much anything you did could make money. But then in the 1970s, the Japanese juggernaut hit the US, and suddenly it became important to think strategically, to think like a leader. In 1980, Warren Buffett made the comment that the problem with America was that it was overmanaged and underled. So now leadership displaced management. And the new mindset was captured in this very telling statement. Managers do things right, leaders do the right thing. Now that statement implies that we should be leaders and not managers. If we act like managers, we've missed the point and we're wasting our time. In other words, managers are spending their time perfecting what really isn't important, what doesn't matter. Leaders, on the other hand, they've got their priorities straight. Managers don't. This thinking misses the point. So here's the short answer to the question. You are actually both a manager and a leader. Now, for the longer answer, how much you are of one or the other really depends on your role. The proportion of each one you exercise depends on your level of responsibility. Now, to explain what that means, let's completely discard those terms. I actually don't like using the terms managers and leaders. They just carry too much baggage. So let's use these terms instead: organizational leadership and operational leadership. Let's talk about organizational leadership and operational leadership. And these are terms that we created for the leadership framework. So instead of leader, let's think of organizational leadership, and instead of manager, let's think of operational leadership. Now, here's an analogy. Think of a ship, and the captain of the ship is on the bridge, responsible for the whole ship, and has a very external focus, looking outside of the ship. And that means looking at the weather, and most important, getting to the right port of destination and not hitting any other ships on the way. That's organizational leadership, leading the whole organization, or the overall business unit, or the department, or the team. But that ship has to function well to get to the port of destination. And that's what we call operational leadership. It doesn't matter how good the captain is if the ship is dead in the water because the engines aren't running. All the tasks and operations that make the ship function have to be well led. That's operational leadership. Even for leaders in an operational leadership role, they still have to exercise some kind of organizational leadership, at the very least buying into the direction that the ship is going in and the purpose of the ship. Now, the relationship between organizational leadership and operational leadership can be a very tense one, often is. And most of us typically start out in operational leadership roles, but as we get promoted, we often have a hard time of letting go of those operational functions. The result is we micromanage our people, and we're likely to get burned out. It's like the captain of the ship who's down in the engine room telling the engineers what to do instead of being up on the bridge making sure that the ship doesn't run into another ship. So that's the difference between a manager and a leader. It's the difference between operational leadership and organizational leadership. And understanding that difference will help you understand what your particular role needs in terms of the mix of the two. And understanding the difference will also save you a whole lot of headaches. All the best in your pursuit of great leadership.